Hi, I'm Coach Larry Wasserman from Body Basics Fitness, and today I have a tip for you if you have tight hip flexors. How do you know if you have tight hip flexors? Well, let's say you get in your car and you drive, 5-10 minutes to the store. You get out of the car, and as you start to stand up, you feel stiff. Maybe you don't even notice it because you just kind of pass through it. Okay, that stiffness is your hip flexors, or these muscles here in the front of your leg that flex your hip, all right? Here's an analogy. See this piece of paper? We're all born perfect like this piece of paper. And as we move and go into repetition, eventually we go to school and we sit down at a desk. And that sitting is like this. Now, that's my hips. That's where I'm flexing, okay? So this is little Larry sitting all day long. However, as I get older, I go back, not as I get older. I stand and I sit all day long and I get back to this. And then as I get older, I start to pay attention to this and I learn that I have to stretch and foam roll and so forth. And I do my best to get back to that. And it looks like that paper is pretty perfect again. But if you look at it up close, that crease is still there, all right? So we're constantly dealing with the hips and the body understanding that. And what the body does is it compensates and it says, basically, I'm gonna get really good at this because you're doing it a lot. So I'm gonna make it easy for you. Well, those tight hip flexors change the angle of your pelvis and rotate it anteriorly, meaning my ilium, my hip bones, are going to start to go that way. You see that little sway in my back? No, I'm exaggerating this, but it's so subtle and it happens so slowly over so many years, you probably don't notice it. But your quadriceps will get short and tight, your pelvis will rotate, and your gluteal muscles will get weak. Well, the fix for this, one of the fixes that you can do is to countermeasure against that slow, debilitating impact of that shortening of the hip flexors or the quadricep muscles. So when you drive to the mall or the grocery store or wherever you're driving these days, get out of your car and hold on to the car, maybe your car door and the car next to you, and take a split squat stance, 1 foot forward, 1 foot back. And then lower your body down so the back leg here is driving forward and down. Keep your chest up. In other words, you don't want to be rounded and forward like that. You want to be vertical here and then lower down until you feel these muscles here lengthen. Now look at my foot. See how my heel is up in the air? If you put your heel down, there's a restriction that will not let your hip go forward enough for this. You'll feel a shortening and tightening of it, but if you lift the heel up, you can really drive it down and then push your pelvis underneath you into a posterior pelvic tilt or tuck, would be a better word here, and then really let that lengthen. Turn around, let me do it facing you. So I've got my two cars, I've got my leg back, I'm gonna lower down and then let that leg stretch, all right? 10, 15 seconds on each leg, anytime you need it. Maybe you're home, you're sitting in a chair, you've been reading, watching TV, and you get up, go into that stretch, and it will be a countermeasure against living under gravity and aging and all of the time that we spend sitting. All right, there's your tip for the day. I'm Coach Larry Wasserman. I'll see you next time.